Now we want to hear from the president of the National Congress of Black Political Women, which I had something to do when it was founded, including help to found it, who has had a distinguished political career in her own right and has of late been taking the lead on this issue of violence against women, C. Delores Tucker. Let's bring on.
First of all, I want to say that Reverend Jesse Jackson and the National Rainbow Coalition are to be commended for their foresight in addressing the #1 domestic problem in this nation, violence in America. The National Political Congress of Black Women is a nonprofit, nonpartisan organization created in 1984 at the suggestion of Reverend Jackson at the 1984 Democratic National Convention to empower African American women economically and politically. Its founding members do include some of the most prominent and concerned women in America, including Mary Berry and Dr. Dorothy Height, our mayor of this city, Alexis Herman, Dr. Gloria A. Toot, Jewel Jackson McCabe, Reverend Willie Barrow, Congresswoman Maxine Waters, Eleanor Holmes Norton, Curtis Collins, and Congresswoman Barbara Rose Collins. We embrace and salute the goals of this conference. Today we have all come together to join forces to address the issue of violence in the nation. A violence which has decimated our communities, devastated our families, and destroyed the souls of so many of our youth. It is imperative that we stop the agendas that are not too relevant as this, that we stop pondering over the issue of space exploration, that we stop debating whose diary we should publicize, that we stop arguing over what choices each lifestyle has. For today we must be serious about this serious situation, this plague, this death to our society. Our greatest fear right here in America is not from hurricanes or earthquakes, not from disease or war, but from violence one against the other. We must understand clearly that violence comes in many forms and is acted upon by many sources. Whether we are talking about physical violence, spiritual violence, economic violence, or sexual violence, the end result is the same: the destruction of human life. Enough is enough. And I'd like someone to bring me what made me say enough is enough. Where's my graphic? Bring it up here, please, somebody. I am here to put the nation on notice that violence perpetuated against women through the music industry in the forms of gangster rap and misogynist lyrics will not be tolerated any longer. Principle must come before profit. A year ago, I established the National Political Congress of Black Women's Entertainment Commission, headed by Dionne Warwick, Melba Moore, Terry Rossi of Billboard magazine, and Vaughn Alexander, our director. It had one primary goal: the task of examining and developing strategies and solutions for reshaping and maintaining positive images to preserve the dignity and the heritage of our youth. Instead of continuously exposing our youth to negative media that distorts their images of male-female relationships, that undermines the stability of our families, communities, and nation by encouraging violence, abuse, and sexism as acceptable behaviors, and perpetuates the cycle of low self-esteem of African American youth. Thus, images that degrade our dignity and are an insult to our children, our families, and communities concern us too. And that includes all this gangster rap and misogynist lyrics. Music that glorifies and promotes violence with guns, knives, or drugs, and denigrates and defames women. And with the release of Snoop Doggy Dog's debut album, Doggy Style, that includes artwork that is nothing but pornographic smut, available to any child to go in and buy with the album and with a record. That has got to stop. You want to know why I'm on the warpath? When I saw this, I said, that's it. We march again, and we're going to keep on marching and demonstrating the truth stuff. For 400 years, prophet came before principle, as black women bore the brunt of slave masters' degradation. But even through the Middle Passage, the peculiar institution of slavery, the spirit of black women and their families could not be broken. Today, however, through the lyrics of rappers who display no respect for women, no respect for families, and little respect for themselves, the souls of our sisters are being destroyed, and so too their progeny. All of us have watched as the industry have grown. We have watched not really knowing, not really understanding, not first realizing the damage that is inherent in what some thought were merely words. Now we see the direct and indirect effects. We see the rise in murders, in abuse, in batterings, teen prostitution, and teen suicide. We hear the wailing mothers, the grieving sisters, the tormented brothers and fathers and children planning their own funerals with pink dresses and pink caskets. We feel their hopelessness and helplessness, and we embrace their pain. Yet in the midst of these tragedies, others still want to argue about the First Amendment right to freedom of speech, a freedom they have embraced to call African American women hoes and bitches and sluts and even worse. As I see it, there are three things wrong with gangster rap and misogynist lyrics. It is obscene, it is obscene, it is obscene. In my view, it was never intended by the founding fathers of this nation that First Amendment rights were meant to protect obscenities. And if there were founding mothers, it would have been more explicit about what the First Amendment meant. Obscenity,
I'm not sure I know that part.
Obscenity has long been an exception. Obscenity, and we have the Attorney General here, I believe it's right. Obscenity has long been an exception to free speech. If the filth that is portrayed in these gangster rap videos and art is not obscene, then I submit that nothing is obscene. In 1992, the Canadian Supreme Court ruled that it was more important to ban speech that is dehumanizing to women than to protect free speech. African American women have always been the protector and nurturers of their homes, their families, and their communities. We march for our rights to Selma. I was there with Dr. King. We're beaten with billy clubs, and we're bitten with dogs unleashed by bull counters. We will not tolerate injustice and insults from our worst enemies then, and we sure ain't going to accept insults from our youth now.
All right. Okay.
And your sons or daughters may have CDs or cassettes in their room right now that contain lyrics that promote rape, murder, racism, drug abuse, and violence against women and children.
This is by a group, a BMG group, German distributor. It's a group called Too Short, and the song is I Must Confess. I can't sleep at night, you always keep me up. Sucking on my dick, let me keep it in guts.
However, there is no excuse for the continued proliferation of gangster porno rap, such as you've just heard.
I think that nothing less is at stake than the preservation of civilization. This stuff by itself won't bring down civilization, but it doesn't help. And when you combine it with other trends, popular culture, television, family disintegration, a host of other things that were talked about in other contexts, this is not good. It's It's not good for America. It's not good for other countries. It's not good for our children. It's not good for our future.
Piece by a group called The Dog Pound.
I just got from an email correspondence with Brother Carroll after I shared with him the information that I'm about to share with you. And he informed me that he is going to be addressing this issue towards the end of this week, around the weekend. And you guys can pretty much expect one of his classic rabbit holes, and I'm sure is going to be giving me a lot of shits and giggles. In addition to that, I spoke with Brother Obsidian, and we have decided to respond to the subject at hand by having a panel of brother content creators. I'm going to try to push for him to get as many well-known content creators on a panel to respond to this foolishness that I'm about to address with these females. That is going to be on June 17th at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, I believe, which I guess is going to be 5 p.m. my time. I'm sorry, June 17th. Jesus Christ, what's wrong with me? Y'all forgive me. I just woke up, so forgive me. That is going to be on December 17th. Did I say June? Did I really say June? Wow, morning brain. So on December 17th, about a week from now, at 6 p.m. EST, I'm going to be on the Obsidian Radio Live Network, and we're probably going to be going ham on the subject matter that I'm about to address right now. So that's what's coming down the pipe. Expect Brother David Carroll to respond to this foolishness, and expect to hear me and several other brothers on the Obsidian Radio Live Network. And trust me, we are going to have a field day on this crap. Now, that notwithstanding, many of you, of course all of you, if you're watching this video, you notice this young lady in the picture here. And what you see is the typical weave, and she's a dark-skinned black female, skinny, nice little figure. And what I've decided to do in this video is I'm going to leave this picture up for the remainder of the video. And the reason why I'm going to do that is because one thing I've come to learn is that you have two different types of black males. You have black males, and these are what I call the minority within the minority. You have black males that can look at a situation and see it for what is, in spite of what's on the outside. And then you have black males that can look at a situation and only see what's on the outside. It's a classic case of not being able to see the forest for the goddamn trees. You have two different types of people. You have people that can look at the forest and realize that the fucking trees are the forest. And then you have motherfuckers that will look at that same forest and say, I don't see the forest, the trees are in the way. You know, it's just, I don't know if it's just the IQ level. I don't know. I really don't know what it is. Okay. But particularly in regards to this image, which, you know, I mean, these bimbos, these thoughts are all over social media. I could just randomly pluck one off of Instagram or Facebook or YouTube or whatever. They're all over the place. Okay. The reason why I put this picture up here is because, and like I said, just wait. Cynthia G. Okay, how do I start this? Well, let me just say this. I'm gonna give you guys a precursor because this is probably gonna be a long video. Cynthia G. made a comment in like this 4-hour long Google Hangout that she had with Paris Milan and these two other females that I'm not familiar with, Chrissy and Nyla, and some Mighty Joe Young sounding baritone sounding female that sound like that chick that played on Ghostbusters, but I don't even know what the hell that was. I guess it was a female, but it sounded like a dude. But she had this discussion panel with these females. And in this 4-hour long hangout that was about as long as my exposure video of Paris Milan, she mentioned, and I've actually heard Cynthia G saying this before, she mentioned that something to the tune of, if any one of these black fools, meaning black men on YouTube that are talking trash about black men, if I wanted any one of them to be my man, they would be it. Meaning she thinks that she looks so good in her mind that we would automatically simp and bow down and worship her and, you know, take her out like she claimed those white men were taking her out and buying her things. She believes that she has that kind of power over all black men, including black men who claim to be red pillars. Now look, two things. Number one, okay, don't get me wrong. There's nothing wrong with anybody being confident in themselves. Okay, like a fighter, for example. Most fighters think that they can, professional fighters I'm talking about, not these people on the street that think they can fight. Most professional fighters, if you ask them, they think they can knock anybody out, including the top echelon of fighters in their division. Even if they're just getting past amateur level, like the Conor McGregor Floyd Mayweather fight last year. He was an Irish white boy that had never fought professional boxing, but he thought he was going to go in there and knock out a guy that was 50-0 undefeated. Okay? That's number one. Number two, I know that there are some black male YouTubers that are highly suspect. Like their simp their simp level is kind of swept underneath the rug. It's suspect. Like they say some of these Negroes are highly suspect of being homosexual. You know, you got some switch-hitting Negroes that's trying to pretend like they straight. You have simp-ass Negroes that are trying to pass themselves off as red pill Negroes. Say, okay? So I don't doubt that Cynthia G probably, if she wanted to, she probably could pull some of these weak-minded dudes. Okay? But for her to be psychologically so indulged in herself to think that she would impress a person like me, who has openly stated that at this point in my life, I would rather fuck a plastic doll than one of these fake hair wearing, fake up having, conniving, ratchet, mind game playing, cerebrally fucked bimbos. Shows you precisely one of the many reasons how and why black females don't respect you. It also shows you, furthermore, how delusional they are. I remember there was a comedian, I forget, I think it was Eddie Griffin, and he talked about how you would see black females in the hood that were crackheads, and they would be strutting down the street, and they would be like touching their hair, kind of petting their weave, and walking down the street skinny as sticks, looking like they just survived a Holocaust concentration camp. And they would either be turning tricks or just, walking, to their drug dealer. And they'd be looking around, and you could tell by the way they were switching and waving their hair that crack had them thinking that they were still looking good, that they were still good looking. You have overweight black females that, just nasty, it's just repulsive when a person allows themselves to get that out of shape. That they will put on bikinis, and it's nothing wrong if you want to go to the beach if you're overweight, but they will take pictures with skinnier, more model figure black females, and they will think that they're on the same level. Okay? And the reason, as far as Cynthia G is concerned, look, I actually saw pictures of her before she took those pictures down off her Facebook, so she could further push this pro-black narrative that we all know now is a farce. And when she, in her younger years, when she didn't have as much fake up on, she actually wasn't bad looking. But now that she's gotten, a little older, a little bit more MILF-like, and, you see all, she's overcompensating with all that fake up. And I don't really know what she looks like underneath all that, but to be completely honest with you, it's kind of scary. I'm going to be careful here on YouTube because I was thinking of a certain movie with a clown that came out recently. That was a remake. But I'm not really attracted to females that look like that. I'm just, for her to think with her attitude. Now, it'd be different if she didn't have the personality disorder that she has. Okay? Where, she thinks that, the world evolves around her and her shit doesn't stink. But with that attitude, knowing what she thinks about black men, to think for 1.5 seconds that she's going to walk up to the likes of somebody like me that just made a video that got over 6,000 views saying that I would rather fuck a silicone or plastic doll before I stick my penis in one of these ratchet holes. For her to think that she could walk up to somebody like me clearly shows you the mental incapacity of the majority of these black females, these delusional black females that we see on YouTube and elsewhere. They've been incapacitated. They're cerebrally derailed. Like when a train go off the tracks. You think that just because you put on a ton of fake, what? We look. This I didn't even intend to start this like this. Let me jump off of this track and just go back onto the other track that I was trying to get onto. Okay. So the point of the matter is, this is the reason why I have this image up of this random chick. Now, let me say this. There are a couple of things that immediately stand out to me when I see this image. Okay. And again, this could represent hundreds of thousands of black females across the United States. Okay? But some of the similarities here. This chick is dark-skinned. She's wearing weave. She's relatively young. Okay? And, by all accounts, in my opinion, she's a good-looking black female. She's physically attractive. Okay? For a dark-skinned black female, she's physically attractive. So what I decided to do is I decided to see the type of comments that I get. Because, see, I know there's a lot of these bummy niggas that come on my videos and, you know, they make these stupid ass posts like, you know, oh, why you picking on a female? You know, ooh, who's the sister in the picture? And so it'll make it easier for me, you know, to decipher between the real niggas and the lost niggas. Okay? So I'll know who I'm actually dealing with. Because the fact of the matter is, in this day and age, in the year 2018 going into 2019, if you cannot differentiate as a black male with all this hashtag Me Too bullshit and what happened to Bill Cosby and what these tricks tried to do to our social media platforms last year, if you cannot differentiate, if you cannot decipher, if you cannot separate in your brain what a female looks like from who she actually is, not only as an individual, but as a group collective, then you are a lost, Simple Simon ass Negro. That will probably be like that for the rest of your life. Okay? And there's no point in coming here to people like my channel, because you're not going to learn anything. The only thing you can see is a pretty face. Okay? And I will admit, I've said time and time again, there are some pretty black females out there. But even with a chick like this, even if a chick like this, and I've said this before, they came up and showed interest in me, you know, we had a nice conversation and she offered me her number, I guarantee you, at this stage in my life, at 33 years old, at this stage in my life, and remember now, I have proof of this. I have proof of this, okay? I'm not just saying this, you know, people say, oh, nigga, I have proof of this. Go to the 4-hour video where I showed you the email correspondence that I had with Paris Milan, and I admitted, you know, when she puts all that shit on, she's not a bad looking chick. She offered to go on a Google Hangout with me. She offered to talk with me over the phone when it was obvious that she couldn't pressure me into getting what she wanted. Okay? She was going to give me her phone number for us to talk back and forth a year ago. I blocked her. I told her I was going to block her and told her she was harassing me. Okay? Most niggas would have been like, oh, wow, I get Paris Milan, this sexy black chick's phone number, even if we're having an argument. Oh, man. So I'm not just talking shit. I'm the wrong guy. Okay? A lot of you brothers are saying that I'm a black pillar. I'm beyond red pill, my nigga. Okay? So for Cynthia G to think that she can pull a dude like me if she wanted me, that just shows you how beefed up these females' heads are. How they're in their own little fucking egotistical time warp time zone. Because they're delusional. If they actually think they can fuck with every single nigga on the planet. They really are. So with that being said, with all of that being said, because that took almost 20 minutes, let's break this down. Now, before I even get into this whole discussion panel that occurred, I believe it was last night, where these females, it started with Paris Milan being butthurt because of that 4-hour long video where I showed nothing but screenshots of things that she said. And the other part of the video where I was ripping in her, that was from a year ago when I was responding to videos that she had put up initially, like the first half dozen videos that she put on her channel. And what happened was I had downloaded all those videos and I had intended to put clips of those videos in that rant, which actually is a good thing I couldn't, because if I did, it would have turned into a 5-hour long video. And I was responding to each thing she said in the video that I felt that I could rebuttal. But what happened was, and this is why it sucks when it takes you a long time to produce a video content, I accidentally deleted the videos that I downloaded that I had intended to put in there to show you guys what I was responding to, you know, when I was practically cussing her out and, you know, arguing against the things that she was saying. So it sounded like I was just talking, you know, off the cuff, you know, but that's not what happened. And when I went back to her channel to try to re-download those videos, she had hid them. Okay. But in that rant that I made, which was partly exposing her, part ranting, her and her minions got butthurt, and as you know, she blew that entire situation up larger than it was, larger than life. And just like Crystal and Karazin with Veganator 2 years ago, she basically popularized the video by giving it more attention, by, you know, thinking that I didn't have the right to critique her, and, you know, she was threatening, you know, lawsuit for defamation. All that did was draw more traffic to it. So then she tried to have a flagging party where she had, you know, all of her blind followers come there and try to flag the video down. Now, here's what's strange. I actually expected the video to be flagged down by now, but it's still up with over 5,000 views, at least since from the point that I'm making this video. Okay, it's been up for almost 2 weeks now. Now, what I'm suspecting, the reason, well, I ain't gonna give them no pointers, but I think I know why it's still up. And I actually still expect it to eventually be flagged down, which is funny because I never intended it originally to be on YouTube in the first place. Unfortunately, the alternate channel that I uploaded, I told you guys, it was having some technical difficulties and it couldn't handle that amount of data at the time. So the actual host of the site actually had to upload it for me on Black Avenger TV. Okay, if it had been up there, you know, it would have never went on YouTube, because I know it's too easy to flag something like that down on YouTube. Okay, the other reason why it's probably not down by now is because YouTube isn't purging like they were last year when Simone 56 created that hit list. They're not purging. Okay, back then, man, you couldn't even say the word damn without getting your shit flagged down. You know, and that's what actually forced us black male content creators over to alternative sites like Gab TV, BitChute, and Black Avenger TV. However, when she realized that she couldn't get the video flagged down, okay, she decided to make a video playing victim like she normally does, like all of these black chicks normally do. And then I guess behind the scenes, she organized and scheduled this live stream with Cynthia G and a couple of these other bimbos to go on there and hold this discussion panel where they're talking about, you know, black men picking on them and all of that. And, you know, I didn't even intend for this video to go like this because there was some stuff I wanted to say before. But another thing that really stuck out at me, besides Cynthia G saying that she thinks that she can have any black man on the planet that she wants if she just walks up to him and says hi. The other thing that really stuck out at me was the Cynthia G and some random ass simp that sounded like one of these ghetto morons that was on there on the panel. You know, you always had them simps amongst black females that don't give a damn about them, but they're too stupid to realize that. She said that she couldn't believe that grown black men in their 40s and 50s were picking on a 24-year-old. And she referred to Paris Milan as a child and as a baby. Now, see, this when the likes of Equazi tells you that black women are disingenuous, I mean, this pretty much just eats the cake. Now, number one, and this shows you how both Paris Milan and Cynthia G are disingenuous. Because where in the parallels of the universe, where in the universe has a 24-year-old ever been deemed as a child or a baby? Furthermore, why would Paris Milan, as a grown woman, not take offense to that? I'm going to tell you why. Because both of these females on that discussion panel last night had an agenda that they were trying to push. And that agenda collectively was that black women are victims. Okay? They're victims. And I recall, it's pretty funny. I recall being in court many moons ago, about 4 years ago. And ironically, it was over a video that I made about my ex-girlfriend. And before our case, there were these three just wild hog type of ratchet traditional Chicago style hood rats that were there. And they were younger females. And there was this older bald-headed black guy. He was actually an off-duty Chicago police officer. And we had to sit through and listen to their case. And the judge was viewing the evidence. And they were trying to get an order of protection against him because they claimed he put his hands on them. Apparently, it was like one older hood rat and her two younger sisters, right? And this off-duty Chicago cop that they were dating, right? So the judge is listening to the evidence, and they're talking, they're playing the victim card and all of this, but they don't know that he actually recorded one of the fights that they had on video. Now, we couldn't see the actual video. They didn't put it up on the court monitor, okay? And I'm telling you guys this for a reason, so bear with me. But what they did was the judge, she played the cell phone footage. She played the sound of it over the mic. And you couldn't even hear the dude in there. All you could hear was a bunch of black females yelling and sounding like hyenas. And this was a Hispanic female judge, mind you. Okay? And apparently this confrontation that was in question, this was a confrontation at the repast for these females' mother who had just died. They came from a funeral. And somehow they were here with this dude. And I don't know if they were still in a relationship or what, but they were all in this house. And this was at a repast. And they were acting like this. And from the moment that judge heard that shit, the victim card that these hoes were trying to play went completely out the window. She scolded them chicks. I mean, she got on the black guy too. But she scolded them like you wouldn't believe. And they had to stand there and take it. And she basically said that this is something, it's a legal term called mutual combat, right? Where I don't know what she saw on the video, but it must have been pretty awful, okay? Because she said, she said in so many words, y'all don't have a case. Because y'all were basically as confrontational and aggressive as you're claiming he was. So they lost the case. And even after the case, do you know these bimbos nearly got arrested after court because they tried to follow this guy to the elevator to argue with him because they were mad they lost the case. And they were rolling their eyes at the judge. But and I'm tempted to show y'all a screenshot of where Paris Milan said that she contemplated running me over with her car, but I'm going to save that. But see, this is why I laugh so hard when they talk about lawsuits and suing YouTube and suing us and forming, this SOS, Sisters Overcoming Stereotypes. I laugh so fucking hard that I almost knock myself unconscious. Because what they don't realize is that with the black female collective, okay, trying to play victim does not work for the black female collective. And it doesn't work for the exact reason that I mentioned. Because they act as manly and aggressive and confrontational as they claim we do against them. And not only do we know this, the rest of the world knows this as well. Now, yeah, sure. If an individual black female, she has some marks on her or something like that, yeah, she could go call the police and, go to court and get charges dropped on a Negro. But if there's nothing on her and there's evidence and she has a criminal rap sheet as long as his, there's nothing she can say. She's stone cold dead in the water. Remember that pretty but wacky chick, Corinne Gaines, the one that got blown away by the Baltimore police SWAT team that was holed up with her son hostage 2 years ago. Y'all remember her, right? 2.5 years ago, talking all that pro-black mess, even though it was obvious she was a half-breed. The police came initially to her apartment, not just to arrest her for not showing up in court to answer a traffic case that she showed a video for, but they also came to arrest her boyfriend for a court case, a domestic violence court case, a summons that he had that he didn't show up in court for. And it was a summons case that she filed against him because she claimed he had assaulted her. Yet here she is in the same apartment with this dude. And when the police come to arrest him for assaulting her in court, she's the one that stays in the apartment pumping the shotgun, holding her son hostage, not him. What does that tell you about the mentality of these females? That's what they don't get. That's the reason why they can never win. When Delores Tucker, I showed you that video at the beginning of this, and I told you you were going to understand why I showed you this. When Delores Tucker, these females act like trying to silence black men is something new. It's not. I didn't even intend. I had bullet points, y'all, that I had wrote down. And that's why I know this is going to be a long ass video. I had bullet points that I had wrote down that I was intending to share with y'all piece by piece, breaking this bullshit ass discussion panel down that they had. But the more I think, the more I have to venture away from that, because these females, they act like trying to silence black men's voices is something new. 25 years ago, Delores Tucker, the congresswoman, the House of Representatives congresswoman, the old bat, she sat in front of a congressional hearing, and before that at a press conference, showing pictures of Snoop Doggy Dogg's Doggy Style album, the animations. And she talked about the lyrics, specifically the lyric that said, bitches ain't shit but hoes and tricks. And she had a real problem with that. And she said what she thought was the shot heard around the world when she said that we black women are tired of being called bitches, whores, and sluts by our children. Okay? Remember that. That was 25 years ago. This was a congresswoman with far more pull than these women have today on social media, talking about what they gonna do to us. She had far more pull. She had the U.S. government on her side, or at least she worked for the U.S. government, okay? And she couldn't stop the freedom of speech and expression from gangster rappers that, oh, by the way, the majority of the white establishment didn't like anyway. She couldn't stop them. She couldn't silence them. So these females sitting, it baffles the mind. And I try to constantly calm myself down by reminding myself that women respond to things emotionally. They don't respond to things rationally. They don't respond to things logically, which is why they never win as a collective against us, and which is why they don't realize that they can't win against us, which is why you have females out here that think that they can fight men. You have females out here that will, call a man every name in the book, get in his face, put their hands on him. But when he strikes back, then all of a sudden they want to cry and play victim. Like that hood rat that hit that bus driver on the bus and then got uppercutted and thrown off the bus. Okay? Women respond with emotion. And unfortunately, a lot of these single baby mama raised degenerate males, they respond with emotion too, which is why you see all this violence, because unfortunately, unlike females, they have testosterone, and thus they're a lot more prone to be violent with, like, say, a gun, which is why in my hometown of Chicago, you're seeing people get shot all over the place because they reason just like a female. I have not met a female yet, including those in my family, that can rattle me, that can overcome me, that can force me to do something, that can manipulate me. Hasn't happened yet. There was a time that I was a simp. I've admitted that. But overall, as far as trying to pressure me into doing something or trying to control me, even when I was a simp, has never happened. And the reason why is because, unlike a lot of these Negroes that have these females' heads so blown up that they're confident that they can walk up to any black man, even ones that are talking shit about them, and snatch them up if they wanted them, is because I had something that a lot of these Negroes and a lot of these Negro females did not have in their life. A father. A father that woke up every single day to this day for 34 years and went to the same job, worked his ass off, came home, laid down the law for me and my sister when it was time to do so. He paid the bills. He set the rules. And he was the king of the castle, not my mother. When it was time for any type of discipline or enforcement, he was there. And thus, that's what these hoes don't realize. That's why they're fake threats. Like when y'all saw in that email correspondence with Paris Milan, they're threats, even if they're legitimate. Again, me being dragged into court for a YouTube video, I've been through that. And I won the case. So threatening to sue me means nothing to me. I've already been through that. Okay? And I won the case because she had no grounds. That video is still up. What are you going to do? Okay? They cannot rattle me even if their threat is legitimate. Because women don't scare me. They're vague threats. They're pussy. It does not control me. Because when I was little, I looked up to a man, not a woman. Okay? And I was a rare gem when it came to the black community. Because if you look at the neighborhood that I grew up in now, in South suburban Chicago, if you look at that neighborhood now, it is when we first moved in there in the late 80s. Okay? When we first moved, where I grew up, spent the first 21 years of my life, it was mostly black and white families. A thing called white flight took place in, I told you guys this, in the south suburbs of Chicago. White flight took place when black families started moving into the suburbs, primarily the south suburbs of Chicago. But when we first moved in there in the late 80s, and, I went to school, kindergarten through high school. It was mostly black and white families, and then mostly black families, okay, as white people started to migrate up north. But if you look at that neighborhood now, it is inundated with single parent homes that are ran by not just single mothers, because there are some good single mothers out there, like my grandmother. She was married to my grandfather who left her, okay, when my father was very young, but she did her best to raise her 4 children. But single ratchet baby mamas. How do you think those children are going to grow up? Who do you think they're going to look up to and revere? How do you think they're going to reason? My point exactly. So that's the reason why this stuff don't work on me. Y'all remember Egypt Ann? All that trash she was talking. When she came on there talking about drop a location. I dropped a location. And she didn't do nothing. And I knew she wasn't going to do nothing. Because she can't do nothing. See, this is the, how do I say it? This is the protocol, the traditional protocol of the black female that has been raised in a matriarchal led and controlled environment. First, you act tough, loud, crass, you make threats, get in the face, like a little chihuahua doing a lot of barking. Okay? Then when that doesn't work, when that fails, if that fails, and that doesn't, shun the guy off, then you play the victim. You call the police, you get the court involved, whatever. That's how they play it. Because at the end of the day, they are aware of their own inferiority, physical inferiority to men. But they don't want to admit that because they've been used to being on top of things for so long. Since the black female adopted the welfare system and took Uncle Sam's welfare system in exchange for the natural order of things, which had a father in the home. Since that change up 30, 40 years ago, she has been the one running things in the so-called black community, which again isn't really a community, but that's a subject for another video. Okay? And as a result of that, she feels like it's okay for her to talk trash about black men, get these niggas locked up, do whatever the hell she wants with them. But they can't dare challenge her. It's equivalent. Let me actually explain this to y'all. It's equivalent to what would happen if a son confronted his father in his father's house. Y'all remember that movie with Denzel Washington and Viola Davis, Fences, where the son, he thought, he was big and strong enough to challenge his daddy after his daddy got caught cheating on his mama and having a baby with another woman. And his father was sitting on the porch and he wanted to walk past his dad, and he didn't have no more respect for his daddy, and rightfully so, because his daddy was cheating on his mama. But still, at that point, okay, you had a clashing of egos. And the father, even though he was in the wrong, like black females are collectively, even though Denzel's character was in the wrong, he felt like he still had say-so in that household, and that his son could not challenge him or walk past him because he was still the head of a house that he betrayed. And so they got to fighting. The difference, though, and what these females miss is that they're not Denzel Washington, meaning they're not grown, strong men. They're women. So when we decide that we done had enough of this shit and we start talking back and, we start fighting back, there's nothing that they can do but call the police or threatening a lawsuit. See what I'm saying? We don't have to take their shit like we would have to take shit off of our daddy. When your daddy tells you you don't like it, get the fuck out. What are you going to do? You can try to fight him, but unless you're a professional, you're probably going to get your ass whooped and thrown out. I'm talking about, when you're relatively young. But you see the comparison. When your mama tells you that, you're likely by the time y'all get to getting into that, you're bigger and stronger than her. And definitely when you have a person like me who was raised with both parents and looked up to my father. A woman telling me something or threatening me with something ain't gonna mean shit to me. It don't mean shit to me. You can try all that tough guy, you know, fucking, hey, you talking to me, Italian, mafioso, fucking tough guy shit all you want. Don't mean nothing to me. It's like blowing air. Like a leaf hit me in the face. It means nothing. It doesn't faze me. If anything, it emboldens me. Ask my ex, she'll tell you. So, with all of that being said, let me just go through these bullet points right quick. Because this was originally what I had intended to do, and I apologize, y'all. Okay. Number one thing I want to address in these bullet points that I wrote down. First, let me read you guys what these two dumb Negroes had the unmitigated gall to leave in the comment sections of two of my videos. Let me read you guys this word for word. Bear with me here. Okay. This first Negro says, he leaves two posts. The first one says, I am a black man, and I love Paris Milan. She is the most objective, fair-minded, balanced black YouTube content creator that you can find on the black side of YouTube. So why do black men keep coming for her? It's absolutely disgusting. Now that post in and of itself, you know, maybe it's just an honest assessment. So I can kind of let that go. Okay, that's his opinion. You know, he likes Paris Milan. Okay. But then check out this second post. Is it just me? Seems like black men are hell-bent that every single black woman turn against, hate them. I'd rather for Paris Milan to cancel her channel, delete her contact, cancel everything and get the hell off YouTube and just live her life and be happy, because I don't want YouTube to change who she is and start hating on black men. Now I want y'all to marinate on that while I show you this other fool that posted. Okay, this is fool number 2. He says, what's the real Brian? I'm seeing all of this back and forth about Paris Milan and Brian Solange, yada yada. I'm gonna keep it 100. Been a subscriber to Senji's channels for the past few years. Have commented a handful of times on Paris Milan's channel as well. Basically, any black YouTuber who is pushing back against the swirl mafia has my ear, male or female. Like you, Brian, I don't like what's going on nowadays with this black female swirling. Non-black men are fishing for our women and expect us to stay quiet. That's going to be funny, but let me just finish. That's going to be funny in a minute. Non-black men are fishing for our women and expect us to stay quiet about it. Fuck that. We're in a pickle, bruh. Let me just keep reading. Don't want sisters to lay with our foes. Yet if they drop Brad Jose Abdul, what are they supposed to do? Let's be crystal clear on this. We want our black sisters to love us above all men, but the bullshit has to stop across the board. It's easy to be angry and the angry brother on YouTube. Our women no longer respect us. This is the elephant in the room we run from. If they did, this bed wench ghetto gaggers nonsense wouldn't exist. White women turned on all white men to spite the bad ones. Black women have fallen into the same trap. Angry at the weak chains, so they throw rocks at all black men out of anger. What has that accomplished for both men and women? The Tommy Sotomayor model, I don't like it. Going in on Paris Milan with such heat betrays my core values. The double agent stuff is whatever. Black people can navigate back and forth at will. You made it personal, Brian, and that's where you messed up. Would I deal with a sister who swirled? Being honest, probably not. However, every brother is not turned up like that. Brothers got to understand this issue is not as cut and dry as it seems. Black love till the casket drops, but we got to find a better way. That's all I'm saying. Now I'm going to show you exactly why these two posts from these two fools that posted separately on my videos is precisely why black women don't respect Negroes. Because Negroes have yet to figure out that she didn't respect his dumb ass in the first place. She lost respect for you. Really, and I hate to say this because it's going to make me sound pro-black, and I'm not. But she lost respect for your dumb ass from the moment all of y'all were put on those damn slave ships. And white massa not only separated y'all physically, but he separated you psychologically. Then it was made far worse when black people got back together after the American Civil War and after slavery. Okay? It was made far worse during Lyndon Baines Johnson's War on Poverty started in the mid-60s, which was further emboldened in the late 1970s with these welfare policies that were allowed to be abused by these single baby mamas who decided to take those in exchange for a man being in the home. That's when she lost respect for you a second time, Negro. And she has never had respect for you since. So for one Negro, one simp, to say that he'd rather Paris Milan just leave YouTube because he's afraid that she's going to start hating on black men and swirling. The first thing he needs to understand, with her now accusing Tyreek and Boyce Watkins and me and everybody else of lying and how she's going to sue everybody and this, that, and the third, she never had, and talking about black men in her inbox are so thirsty, she never had respect for your black ass anyway, fool. She never did. It's just a floor show, okay? And this other Negro talking about where I messed up was going in on Paris Milan and black love until the casket drops and all that nonsense. See, these idiots don't realize they can't. This is a classic fucking case of a person who can't see the forest for the goddamn trees. They don't realize that the trees are the fucking forest. You're not going to gain any respect from a person who had no respect from you to begin with. It's like a Jew going up to a neo-Nazi and demanding respect. It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen, baby. You're going to have to find a different discipline because it's not going to happen. These females have been put in charge, okay, by their white government daddy. They have been put in charge to reign over the households that you Negroes should have been in control of for the past 40 years. 2 coming up on 3 damn generations. They have watched their men be strung out on drugs and alcohol on the street corners of every major American city in the United States for decades. They have watched their men get locked up for doing petty, dumbass crimes like selling dope, put in prison for years. Okay? They have seen the black male over time be broken down. And now, coming up as if that wasn't bad enough, now this homosexuality with black males that have problems with their identity. Drag queens, down low brothers, etc. These females have watched, they have sat by while ruling over these homes with the help of a welfare system that replaced your black ass. They have watched as you have been systematically dissected like a lab frog. Your masculinity was dissected like a lab frog. Thrown in prison, getting murdered by other black males, hanging on street corners, drinking malt liquor, turning into a homosexual. They have watched you systematically get dissected like a lab frog for the last 4 fucking decades. And they have stood by and done nothing but talk about how niggas ain't shit. And you think that a female like this is going to have some level of respect for you, man, have you lost? I'm gonna ask you the same thing that Wesley Snipes' character said in the first Blade, when the fucking white cops ran up and they shot him, even though it was a damn half-burnt vampire running past him. Motherfucker, have you lost your goddamn mind? And the other thing, bullet point number 2, and this is why I hated that I ventured off. Why black male YouTubers, okay, Cynthia G, a third thing that she said that stuck with me was, she said in her video that, and it was another female, I don't know if that was Cynthia G or another one of those bimbos, but one of them said, no, you know what? No. It was the simp. Sure was. It was the black male simp that said that was in there. He made a mention that the black men that are anti-black feminist, female feminist, you know, the red pillars, or the guys that call themselves the MGTOWs, or people like me call ourselves Marlboro men. He said that we are the progeny of Tommy Sotomayor. We're Tommy Sotomayor's children. That's what he said. Meaning, indicating, obviously he doesn't think that we're Tommy Sotomayor's biological children. He thinks that this whole thing going on, this gender war going on YouTube, where black women are saying that black men ain't shit and black men are saying that black women ain't shit, and that's the problem. He thinks that this was all sparked off by Tommy. That if it wasn't for Tommy and his marketable success of becoming a millionaire off of capitalizing off of this, that there wouldn't be other black men saying the exact same fucking thing he was saying, only in their own style. And I have to look at Negroes like this sideways, you know, like a dog that, you know, kind of turns his head sideways when he don't understand something. Because I'm lost trying to understand how a black male, even if he wants to support, you know, these ratchet thoughts, how he can think, if he has been around these females all his life, how he can think that one man that nobody knew initially just so happened to turn all black men against black females. See, I told y'all, there are a lot of black men who can't see the forest for the goddamn trees. And there's a lot of people in general that can't see a forest for the goddamn trees. He's saying that Tommy is the reason why we're on here hating on black women. When in fact, if black males had better experiences with black females, mostly all of us would have been ignoring Tommy, would have been trashing Tommy, would have been flagging his videos. Tommy would not have risen to the point that he was at if it weren't for black men that looked at his shit and said, damn, that's the exact same thing I've gone through with these chicks. Now, he found a way to market and revolutionize his brand of anti-feminism, you know, and it worked out very well for him. But he and his success would not exist if it wasn't for the fact that other black men are tired of these females' shit. Tired of putting up with their shit and being dragged through the mud and disrespected the same way he was. Tommy didn't start nothing, okay? There was a dude on here before Tommy called Sergeant Willie Pete, okay? As soon as YouTube started to get popular, black men were coming on here and they were expressing their ills just like everybody else. It couldn't be that there's that many of us that are saying the same thing, having the same experiences, and it's just a coincidence, okay? I told y'all, even if you look through history, leaders, and I don't even consider Tommy Sotomayor a leader, but if people want to, if these simp ass fools, if they want to consider Tommy as, you know, the lead the lead activist of this movement that started, you know, 5-6 years ago. You also got to look at the likes of any other movement in the world where you have a person that stands on a soapbox and starts saying something that other people agree with and start moving with that person. Okay? Emma Goldman, the Jewish Romanian woman back in the 1920s. I know you Negroes don't know history. But those men, she rose to success in a time when men were the only ones that had rights in this country. Women didn't even have a right to vote back then. Why were they gathered around a little short Jewish woman talking shit about the government? Because these were men that were being screwed over by the government and their corporate cronies, losing their jobs, working for low pay, no rights as day workers and laborers. And here was a woman telling them that centralized government was the enemy of the common man. Okay? They didn't listen to her because she was a woman or because she was up there talking shit. They listened to her because what she was saying coincided with the shit that they were going through. Okay? If black men wasn't going through shit with these hoes, there would be no ear. There would be no audience for a Tommy Sotomayor or a Brian Solange or a David Carroll or an Equasi or an Obsidian or a Kid Organic or any of or a Hardcore Tito or any of a number of these brothers that have become the stalwarts, so to speak, of the black YouTube sector as far as anti-feminism, the anti-feminist movement goes. Okay? It's not like, and Equasi brought this up, Brother Logic and Common Sense, he brought this up in a video. It's not like we just woke up one day and decided, oh, we gonna start trashing black women that look like our mothers and our girlfriends and our wives and our sisters. We're just gonna bully black women. No. That's not how it worked. See, these females, they struck first, and then we started to strike back. And because, like Denzel's character in that movie, they've been in the head of the household and thus the so-called black community for so long, they didn't like it. They can't handle it. Now these very Negroes that were underneath their thumb for so long with the help of white daddy's welfare system are starting to talk back, are starting to fight back. And they can't use, like in a case where a male puts his hand on a female, they can't use white daddy's system anymore effectively to get this nigga locked up, And because it's the internet, they can't even use other simp niggas to come beat this nigga down. They have to stand there and they have to take it. That's right. And that is the problem that they're having. Now, the other thing, and I'm gonna end with this. When I heard these females, because actually I had intended, as many of you know, I told you guys my intentions on my last video. I had no intentions of making another video about this Paris Milan chick, Cynthia G, or any of these bimbos. Okay, I had every intention of moving on. Okay, that's why I released that video about Kevin Hart, and on my other channel I released a video about what Eddie Griffin said, where he tried to warn y'all about these hoes 20 years ago in that skit that he did on Dr. Dre's Chronic album. Okay, I was ready to move on because I told y'all I don't believe in kicking a fool when they down. Okay, if she's done with it, I'm done with it. But when they wanted to create this panel, it doesn't bother me except the lies and the myths that are being told. That doesn't really bother me, but I felt like, because one of you brothers actually brought this live stream to my attention, I felt like I needed to address it in certain points of it, for stuff pretty much going over shit that we already know. But I felt like it was necessary because you can't allow these demented females to run away with the narrative like they want to do. And that narrative is that they're just victims and these evil black men are just picking on them. And I'm not going to allow them to do that. Okay? Just like I didn't allow Paris Milan to come on here talking shit a year ago. You know, we had unfinished business when she made that video talking about she was a fire sign and she fucked me up and talking all that shit. When the truth of the matter is, she had to practically beg me to take down one video, and the second video I didn't take down. And when she tried to, you know, appeal to me, you know, using her sex appeal by offering her phone number, I just blocked her. And that's actually, there's screenshotted receipts of that I showed y'all on that 4-hour video, okay? I'm not going to allow any of these females to come here. And I mean, if you just listen to these thoughts talk shit about black men, including the Mighty Joe Young sounding one, with the braids that were thankfully hiding her face, you know, had a baritone voice deeper than a damn man. Sitting up here talking about, you know, calling men names, talking about how they gonna whip somebody's ass. Man, I'm not gonna allow somebody like that to run away with the narrative that they're victims. No way. I wouldn't allow that to be done to you, brothers. No way. Every time they come out, and that's why David Carroll's gonna make a response video to this. That's why we're gonna go on the Obsidian panel in about a week, and we're gonna set the fucking record straight. Again, December 17th at 6 p.m. I'm not gonna let them run away with the narrative that they're victims, because they're anything but. Okay? They betrayed us black men from the moment they picked up that first welfare check. Okay? And they've been betraying us ever since. You know, this swirling thing is nothing new. And that's not even the big, you know, sleeping with white men and non-black men. That's not even the biggest betrayal. Okay? What's her name? Brooklyn Blue, aka Kendall St. Charles. She want to talk about the ancient betrayal. Negro, please. Ancient betrayal? Can you say yes, massa? What you want me to do, sir, massa? Get the fuck out of here, man. But I wanted to end with this. The reason why you can't take these females seriously. Now, of course, we know there are many reasons why you can't take them seriously. But one of the things that kept being pushed, the main thing that kept being pushed in this, was that no other race group of man talks about his woman the way black men talk about black women. But what these females failed to mention was that on the flip side, no other race group of woman talks about and disrespects her man the way black women do. Okay? So it's a, you know, I mean, it's really a catch-22. It's a double negative. You can't talk about one without having the other. Okay? But these females want to just pretend like it's only us, and that the things that we're saying aren't true, and that what's going on YouTube is the worst thing to hit black America since the fucking race wars of the 1920s. And I have to push back against that. Because if these females were actually legitimately concerned with, you know, the gender war and the overall distrust between black males, you know, and black females, and the issues in the black community, they would be going out, signing petitions, and starting panels and organizations pushing back against all this gangsterism, all this drug dealing out here on these streets, you know, these pimps that are pimping these prostitutes, these thoughts that are self-pimping themselves on Instagram and places like Backpage.com before it got pulled down. They would be forming organizations to get these ratchet shows like House Whores of Atlanta and Basketball Wives taken off the air. They wouldn't be supporting, they would be signing petitions to boycott Tyler Perry's movies, making fun of ratchet, loudmouth black women. See, this is how you know, like Akwesi said, that these females are very, very disingenuous. And they're not serious, okay? What they want, this is not about protecting the image. Just like we told y'all when Crystalline Cares and Simone 56 and Sophia Nelson tried to virtually assassinate every black man on YouTube, and it failed. And they were talking about sisters overcoming stereotypes. This was never, ever about protecting the image and the safety of black females. Okay? This is about controlling the black males that they have been controlling for the last 40 years in the household. Okay? They feel like if they can't control us with that welfare check, those of us who were raised by single baby mamas, they can control us with that pussy. And if that don't work, then they go and get the white man's police or the white man's courtroom to control us and rein us in. Okay? People talk a lot about that kid, what was his name? Not Laquan McDonald, but the one that got shot and killed by the Hispanic cop in Chicago, after he had an argument with his mama. What they forget is it was a female member of his family that called the police on him to begin with, to try to control him. Now, this is the same female that's suing the Chicago Police Department. If she had never called him, the nigga wouldn't have wound up dead. And why was he acting like that? Because he's responding like an emotional female, like the one he was raised by. See, these are the ugly truths that they don't want to face. And what I just said in this hour-long video is another thing that they want to silence. They don't want to face this nigga talking about the elephant in the room that we running from. No, Negro, this is the elephant in the room that these thoughts that you're trying to protect are running from and trying to silence and mask. But they can't now, because black men psychologically have grown up, a lot of them. Okay? A lot of us are no longer supporting the Democratic Party. A lot of us now, we have platforms where we can openly discuss and talk about the issues that we have with black females, just like they can openly discuss the issues that they have with us, like they did on the talk shows in the 1990s. Okay? Now, because we're on the internet and we're not putting our hands on them, they can't, call the police to get us locked up. They can't drag us into court for domestic violence. But they still want to try to resort, and Egypt Ann did the same thing when we were going after her and burning her ass up. Now they try to resort to threatening lawsuits that they can neither afford nor do they have grounds for. Because if you listen to the likes of a toxic female like Cynthia G, okay, she talks as much shit and calls as many names towards black men as she claims that black men do to her. Okay? You remember that beef that she had with Tommy? Crispy Coon Demon? And all the stuff she was talking about? Stuff that he was putting in his ass? Oh, but that was okay. See, that was okay. That is why they will lose, as they have been doing. And they ain't gonna do a motherfucking thing about Brian Solange. They can try. But they've been threatening to for the last 4 years now. And I'm still here. And I'm still going to be here 4 years from now. Talk to you later, guys.